So the next pieces that we're going to do are coil pots. And coil pots are really wonderful. They you can make them any height, you can get them really wide, you can make them do whatever you want, but you have to kind of use the right method. And I like to use a building bowl to start out with. And as we go along then I'll show you some other things you can do with coils. But coils are also one of the early types of pottery going back to 10,000 BC. And they have been used almost in every culture on the earth in order to build pots. So you can take this any place you want. But this is my method. It's based on what I learned at TU, which was then based on Native American pottery from the Southwest, from San Ildefonso tribes in that area. So this is just a basic coil pot. I'm going to take some clay out of my sack. About a fist full. Make a ball by cupping it like we did with the pinch pot, and getting all the creases out. The clay needs to be pretty wet at this point. And you know, this raku clay has grains in it, and you can see those as you kind of smear across it with your thumb. But get your bowl made, and then what I do is I put this hand flat, and then I smash it down, turn it over, smash it down, turn it over, and go back and forth that way, making kind of a pancake with the middle part of my hand right in this part. Now you want to build out, you want to make it flat enough, about the size, so that it just comes above the rim of your building bowl. And I'm going to try to just make the pancake as even as I can. And then I'm going to place it in the building bowl. It's not quite big enough. You see, you can still see the building bowl a couple of places here. So I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. This is not terribly important. I just like to start this way and try to get it as even as you can. Well, that's good enough. It's a little bit bigger on this side, so I'll probably just cut that off just to make it a little bit easier to deal with. But you want to have the building bowl coming up, not hanging over like this. You don't want it to hang over, because that way your weight of your piece that you're building is inside this cup rather than hanging over and then the weight causing it to fall down. So bring it straight up out of the building bowl so that you won't have that overhang. Okay, so now that's the base of the piece I'm making. I'm going to push that away for a minute, and again we're going to build a coil that is thick. We're not building like little kindergarten coils. We're going to build big ones. And you put this down on the table, and as you roll it completely over all of your hand. And you start in the middle, push down, and roll out. And you want it to be pretty thick. Don't make it too thin. It's a good sized coil. And let's see if that's actually going to work with our bowl here. No, not quite. wide enough. So I'm going to start in the middle, go all the way over, and come out. Try to make it as even a coil as you can. And now it's the right size, so I'm going to just take it and join it together so it makes a donut. You want it to sit on the inside of the building bowl so that it's not, you know, coming out over the edge. So now I'm going to start joining the coil to the base of the pot. And how you do this is you use your fingers on top of the building bowl, so they're sitting right on top of that terracotta building bowl in my case, and you're going to use your thumb, if I can get this to where you can see, and you're going to smush it down into the base. I'm going to adjust my camera so you can see a little better. I think that's a little better. So I'm going to lift up on the outside, just your fingers right on the building bowl, and press down so that every time I move the clay, I'm smushing that into the base all the way around. And keeping it from building out over the edge is the main thing you want to go for. Okay, so this is the way it looks now. The coil is joined together with the base, and it's still really flat. The building bowl is nice because it has a wide rim. You can use other things also. You don't have to use a clay thing, but the nice thing about clay is it doesn't stick then to your piece, and you can build this real nice and stable on the bottom here. So now I'm going to start going around and pinching the piece like we did the pinch pot at the bottom here, keeping your finger on the building bowl here, top, and just pinching, turning, pinching, turning, pinching, turning, all the way around so that the wall comes up around the edge and your coil just gets a little smaller right in that bottom part where your the floor meets the coil. And you pinch and turn just like you were a little potter's wheel. Same pinch all the way around until you get it to be about, you know, between 1/2 inch and 1/4 inch. You want it pretty thin because if you're making a tall piece, you don't get back down in here. But it's the same pinch, and you're gauging the distance with your outside hand on top of the building bowl. So you're making the same repeated pattern, just a little bit each time, same thickness. All right? You want this to be coming straight up, not out over the edge at all. You don't want it to come out. It's just straight up, and you can still see the building bowl on both, all the way around. Now I'm going to just bring my pinch up a little bit, and I'm going to actually kind of curve my hand in rather than straight up now. It kind of comes in like this. And I pinch and turn to make that the thickness that I want it to be on the very top. Keep the top thick. You want that lip to be a little thicker than the rest of the clay. Pinch, turn, pinch, turn. Now I'm going to, mine's getting a little wide here, and I want to make sure it kind of comes in a little bit at the top. So I'm going to take my hand like this now and pinch it in this way and in that way, just a little bit. If yours starts going out on the edge, then you can get it to come back in by doing this technique. So I'm putting my thumbs on the outside. Let's see where I can get here. And I'm pinching in and in. So in and in, just a little bit. Keeping it thick, not making it get thin. You're not pinching it to make it thinner now. You're pinching it to kind of close the circle in the top of it. Just a little bit, not too much. Okay, so now it's just sort of coming in a little bit at the top. Okay, so now let's roll another coil out. If your clay is really wet, then really 2 coils, maybe 3 at the most, is all you can do as you come up with the coils, because it won't be able to hold the weight of the coils. So here I kind of do it like this to begin with, to make kind of a long shape. And I'm then going to roll it out this way, pushing it down, going all the way over your hands. If you get flat parts, like let's say it starts getting like this, bum bum ba bum ba bum, you just like pull it up this way and make it kind of square this way, and then go at it again with the long rolls. That's okay. You'll figure this out eventually, and it's not terribly important, but it's kind of easier if it's round. Okay, so now we're going to go back to our pot, and we're going to put this coil on the inside, just barely on the inside of the rim. And you don't want to build it so that it flares at the top. And I'm going to pinch this off here right above the coil so it makes a donut. Just big enough to fit on barely the inside of the pot. And now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take my thumb, and my hand is flat on the outside. I keep my fingers together, and I smush that down in as I go around. And I'm trying to bring the pot in a little bit so that it doesn't start getting out over the edge of the building bowl and the pot itself. Now, so pinch, turn, same pinch all the way around. Don't stay in one place or it'll start getting thinner in that place. Same pinch all the way around. Now you see it's grown, and that's what you want to see it do. And I'm going to now reverse my hands like I did before and pinch them in and in. So here we go. I'm going to take this and I'm going to push it in and in, and I'm actually thinning it a little bit at the same time now. keeping the lip thick. And I'm feeling it, making sure the thickness is about right all the way around. And this is real fun to do. I find it very meditative if I'm not talking and teaching at the same time. And you want it to be that same thickness when you get through, about, somewhere between 1/2 inch and 1/4 inch. Closer to 1/4 is better. So now it's going up. Now it's starting to come in a little bit at the top, and that's okay with me. You can stop at this point, or you can just continue going up. You can keep adding coils and make it as tall as you want. You can make it come in by putting smaller coils and then keep coming in at like a bottle shape. And now we're going to switch and start using our serrated scraper. And that's what this one is, that has the little teeth on the top here. Actually, no, I'm going to use this one first. This is a rib, wooden potter's rib. Clean it off if it has anything on it. And you see it has several curves. It has a very flat curve here, a kind of a medium round, and then a real sharp pointed curve on the other side. We're going to use this side right here that is more the curvature on the inside of the pot. So this is the movement. You hold it with the hole in your thumb. This is my right hand, and I'm going to come in like an airplane and come out. Come in like an airplane and come out. And by doing that and holding your hand flat on this side of the clay, you're going to actually then stretch the clay. So I'm going to hold my hand on the outside here, and I'm going to come in and do it like this. I'm going to move the camera angle so that you can see that a little better. So here's my flat hand on the outside. You always want like one point countering the force that you have on the other side to be able to control how much you're affecting the pot. Every time you touch clay, it moves, and so you have to allow it to talk to you and tell you what it wants, but you also have to kind of coax it to do what you want. Excuse me. So here we go. I've got my hand on the outside, and I'm stroking it on the inside with this wooden potter's rib. Sometimes I have to stop talking because I have to concentrate on what I'm doing here, and I'm hoping that you can see what I'm doing on the inside. So you do the same thing. You stroke it and you move it. You stroke it and move it. And this smooths the inside too. I don't know if you can see that on the inside very well. We're really concentrating now in making the inside of this thing smooth. And I'm coming into it like an airplane landing, where it just hits down a little bit to begin with, and then it lands completely, and then it takes off. So you're kind of swooping in, letting it stretch the clay, and then kind of gradually swooping off. so it doesn't make big gouges when you do that. So I just changed the lighting a little bit, so hopefully you'll be able to see that a little better. I'm going to continue stretching the pot out as I go, but I don't want it to build out over the building bowl. Make sure it's not coming out over the building bowl edge, or you'll end up with it falling apart on you. Now I'm going to use my tool now a little differently, in that I'm going to use this flat part right here in the bottom of it so that I can kind of smooth the bottom. So you use the tool edge as you as the curvature of the pot of what you want it to become. Okay, so now the outside is starting to get a few little cracks in it. Those are surface cracks. They're not really structural. That's from where the coils join together. But you see at the bottom, I've still got my fingerprints from the pinching of that first coil onto the base. Now, if you stretch it too much or more, then you're going to get surface cracks on the outside, which sometimes are really beautiful. And so if you let this dry a little bit and then stretch it, then you might actually end up liking what you get there. Now, my lip is closer in and kind of a nice thickness right up here. It's thicker rather than the rest of the pot, just by a little bit. And I'm going to start stretching it at the top here so that it comes out here. Let me widen this a little bit. So now I'm going to stretch it so that it opens up here. So I'm going to hold my hand on the outside like this. This is my left hand, and I'm going to stroke it so that it begins to come out. Now, if I was building it up higher, I wouldn't do this part. I'd leave it kind of small, and I would let it set up a little bit. Sometimes in big pots, people actually build fires inside of them to heat it up, and they let that, the flames go out, but that gives them enough heat that they can build it up higher. Now I'm just kind of stretching, I'm getting the inside smooth, and I'm pulling this out a little bit so that I can, you see that it's growing on the outside here? Stretching it, holding my hand on the outside so that it will go where I want it to go rather than where it wants to go only, to kind of talk to the clay a little bit. Manhart used to call a dialogue with the clay. Okay, so that is the height, and it's fairly smooth on the inside now. I'm pretty happy with that. So now I'm going to use my serrated scraper on the outside to be able to then get more of the texture of that to, if you like what you've got, leave it. If you don't like what you've got, then this will be a way that you can fix that. So I'm going to hold my hand flat on the inside now, and I'm going to just sort of curve this a little bit so that it takes on the curve of the pot. And I'm going to just push my thumb in like that, flex it, and lightly go across it like this. And I think about this like confusing the clay. You're pushing it out, you're getting rid of the bumps, you're getting rid of any of the cracks. You do this different directions as you go around to kind of confuse the clay and make it think that it really was smooth to begin with. And even though it's got lots of texture on it now, we're going to get rid of that texture in a minute. But you go down as far as you can to the building bowl, and you hold it on the inside so it doesn't deform the shape that you've got, and you do this several different directions in order to make it, even though it's textured, smoother. Pushing it out where it's too far in. That's where it's a little thinner. And you want it just as nice as you can get this way. So you're moving a little clay into the bumps. And in fact, many times what I'll do is I'll take a little pinch of clay like this and fill in, if I have a place like that I want to, it's a real deeper bump than I think that I could smooth out this way. And then I just go back and forth and kind of blend it in to the clay. Like that right there, we're going to get rid of that. And you can be just as nitpicky with this as you want to be. Because of time, I'm going to go on now. But I might do this for a long time. And if you get your light on what you're working on just in the right angle, you can really see, even in the textured aspect of this, that there are areas that are smooth and there are areas that need a little bit more work. So now the other scraper that you have is a smoothing scraper. If you don't have a smoothing scraper, you can use the back of your serrated scraper. It works just as well, and so I'm going to use that. Bend it, just turn it around and bend it this way, and then you're going to just go lightly over this, and it's smooth as a baby's bottom. And then you just do this all the way around. If you find that you have a divot, then just stop and scratch it a little bit with your serrated scraper. Fill it in with some more clay, and you can make this just as smooth as you want. Now, even if my piece is going to have texture on it, I many times will just do this part because I want to see if the form is even, and then I put the texture back in. As long as it's wet, you're in good shape. You can always spritz it a little bit with a water spritzer, like you'd use on plants, and you don't want to do that too much, and you don't want to get it too wet. You just want to get it spritzed, not soaked. Okay, so I could keep going on that for a long time, but I'm going to stop at that part. See, now there's one of those little, I don't know if you can see, divots, and so I'm going to get just a little bit of wet clay. You didn't see that, but I put some spit on it. And just going to smooth it out. All right, so now it's smooth on the inside. I could certainly make this smoother on the outside, but I think it's fine for demonstration's sake. And I'm going to then cut the lip off. The lip is a little bit uneven, and I want to keep it, I want to make it even. So I get a little ball of clay, and actually a bigger ball than a little, and put it out right next to the clay. So I'm going to make it into kind of a cone shape. And then I'm going to take my needle tool and embed into that. And I want to position it just where it is. There's the lowest part. See, now it's not quite high enough or low enough. So I'm going to point it down a little bit. You have to have enough clay mass so that this doesn't move. So on a flat surface now, I'm going to just draw a line with the needle tool all the way around. And if I got it just below the lowest point on the rim, then this will be even all the way around with the table. Yeah, good. All right. Then I use my fettling knife, clean it off nice and smooth, and I'm going to put it in, straight in. I try to keep it the same angle, and just turn the bowl and cut that off. All the way around. You cut it straight, you don't saw back and forth with it, just push it forward, and that way it makes a cleaner line. Now if your needle moved as you were doing this, then it won't be even. Okay, then I'm going to just take this off, and there you have a fairly even lip. That looks good. It's got a little roughness here and there. I might want to touch it up a little bit more with my wooden potter's rib. You know, the other thing that really works great instead of a potter's rib is a little piece of gourd that is cut and sanded smooth on the edges. Those work really, really great for tools. And I have built a gourd tunnel out at Shirley's, and we grow gourds. Should make some tools for everybody, or give them some gourds. All right, so now we're ready for the next step, which is to finish off the lip.